Good morning, everyone. It is Wednesday, December 6th, half an hour before the open. Yesterday, we were seeing how the QQQ had come back and touched the EMA 20 on Monday, and then we did get a confirmation bar. So it looks like we got the pullback in the QQQ, a very mild one, and then we're bouncing right now. So in just a moment, we'll take a look and see if that bounce looks like it's going to continue, and we'll actually get a bounce. If it does, then that implies maybe the sector rotation that we were talking about the last few days, where we are going higher in the blue chip stocks and lower in the tech. It might be reversing. Now, that might sound like a contradiction of what I was talking about in the past about traders not wanting to risk their bonuses and going a little bit more steady. But we have to remember, and what I didn't entirely take into account for was that about 80 to 90% of all transactions, so all volume, but not necessarily money, but in terms of volume, about 80 to 90% of it is actually algorithms. So algorithms, they don't take vacations. They don't worry about bonuses. They don't worry about their performance. They just trade according to their rules. So those will very much still be trading however they are programmed to trade. So they're not going to be affected by a sector rotation behavior of human traders. They're just going to keep on trading. So if we see a tech bounce, we may see money leave that discretionary. So it may undo some of that sector rotation that the humans are doing. Now, what I just said is also another really great reason why when volume is low and human traders are on vacation, you probably want to take it easy in your own trading, because what that means is the vast majority of the trading is already algorithms anyways, but it's even more so when the human traders are on vacation. So you're literally trading against computers, and they're way faster at clicking the button than you are. These institutions, the really big ones, they have supercomputers. They have the most advanced supercomputers in the world, even more advanced than NASA and many governments have, because they have billions and billions and billions of dollars that they can put into it, because their livelihood is literally dependent on these supercomputers, the ones that have set themselves up with algorithms. So we definitely don't want to be directly competing with those algorithms. You want to go with whichever algorithm is dominating in the market at the moment, and that can change minute by minute. So the day trading game can get more and more difficult unless you happen to be moving along with an algorithm. Now let's take a look. Let's take a look at those futures, see if we're going to continue to move upwards, or at least if there's an upward bias. We can't say for sure if we're going to continue moving upwards in those techs. Okay, so we are up, and it looks like about 20-ish basis points, maybe a quarter basis point here. Then we've got 1, 2, 3, about 30, so somewhat significantly, actually. It looks like in the NASDAQ, we're looking at about 60 basis points. So we are up significantly. So let's see how that developed in the overnight markets. Oh, that's interesting. So we got a lot of this in the last few minutes. So it looks like we went up initially, immediately after the close of markets yesterday. And then we trended down a little bit. And then just in the last few minutes, we spiked way up. So this is probably the human traders who are coming online. They probably just got to the office just about when we started talking, or maybe half an hour before that. And they are driving these futures up. So we can probably anticipate that, well, we know for sure based on the pre-market that we're going to open a little bit up. So tiny bit of a gap up today as we open, and definitely an upward bias. Now remember that just because we open with an upward bias doesn't mean that we're going to keep that upward bias throughout the day. We closed right around here. Let me get that. I don't want to draw too many lines. It looks like all of these lines are still valid. So we just have an extra previous close line right here. We'll just say in between these two purple lines, and we're going to just expect with about a 70% probability that this is going to, at least at the open, start trading downwards towards that close. But we could fall into the 30% today, especially since we are pretty close to a previous close over here. So we could trend upwards. And what we really want to see is, can we break that previous close, and then can we break this blue line? I'm not sure what it is. It's either a local high or maybe one of these highs. It's probably a local high. So those two levels are going to be very important to see if we can break upwards. Otherwise, if not, if we bounce down, then there is still that effect of, if the QQQ is bouncing and sucking money away from other sectors because we regain enthusiasm for tech stocks, then the rest of the S&P could go down, the Dow Jones could go down, the S&P could finally take the pullback that we've been talking about for a really long time. But of course, the S&P could just chop sideways as well. So if we reject these blue lines over here, I would start looking for, I guess it'd be a little too premature. I would have to see tomorrow, the next day, if we start having that downward bias. Because if we look on the daily chart, we're not quite there, right? We've just been chopping sideways. We hit that EMA 8 finally the last couple of days, and then we could consolidate along that EMA until the EMA 20 catches up. That would be a long consolidation. And then perhaps if that happened, then there's not a lot of human trading left in the rest of the year. And then so that could cause us to keep on chopping sideways. And QQQ, again, it looks like we have a pretty solid bounce. As long as we can get above the EMA 8 today, which is not too difficult, is very close, then it should, actually, it looks like, look at the pre-market, it looks like we're going to gap up way above it. So yeah, this QQQ is not going to have too much trouble moving upwards, at least to this local high. Let me draw that line right there. And maybe even up to this aqua resistance towards by the end of this year. Let's take a look at our bonds, because that is going to be pretty heavy, pretty important. So yesterday we talked about how we could just hit this MA 150 and stall out. We could, if this continues parabolically to the MA 200, we could have a hard rejection. And it looks like we're going to open right next to that MA 150 right there. So how the bonds trade today is going to give us a very good clue of how it could go forward. Of course, 2 or 3 days of data would give us a better clue, but today's data at the very least will start to form that opinion. So I'm going to be watching that very carefully, or at least I'm going to be examining it very carefully after the market hours. I'm not necessarily going to watch it during market hours, but I will be watching the S&P 500. I want to see if it can break above these previous closes. And if not, I'm going to look for either a lot more chop, or if it's a strong momentum rejection, if we start breaking and challenging previous lows. So Friday's low, Monday's low, I don't know what low this previous low right here is, but we've got several psychologically important lows that if we break, then that could signal the pullback in the S&P 500. For day trading today, Tesla has always been good for the last, I don't even know how long, for a really long time. Excellent day trading opportunities in Tesla. NVIDIA, we looked at it yesterday, and today again, it looks like we'll get good trading opportunities. And realistically, as one of the Magnificent Seven, it's probably going to continue until it fades out of popularity. And then Marathon, especially with crypto action. A lot of interest in cryptos at the moment because we are matching previous highs, and people are starting to get really hyped up about crypto again. So having a crypto name like Marathon, or you could look at some of the Bitcoin ETFs or other crypto miners to watch for day trading opportunities or even swing trading opportunities. Okay, so that is going to be it. That's pretty thorough for this morning. Let me think if there's anything else. We already looked at the economic calendar, and I don't believe there's anything for today much. International goods and services, but that already came out. And let's see if that was the big spike. 530, maybe. Okay, so it looks like we started to go up before it, maybe in anticipation, but this huge run up, that parabolic end of that run up, and then the pullback, and then the steady movement upwards, that looks like that was a reaction to the international goods and services. So let's just click in there and see what we got. We believed that it would go down by 61.2 billion, and it actually went down by 64.3 billion, which is not good. that's not. So I guess I'm not sure how the market is interpreting this. That's really interesting. Weaker GDP from a Fed perspective is not good. It means it can't. Oh, I guess so. Okay, so if the GDP cannot sustain or cannot withstand additional rate hikes, then I guess the argument, the weird thinking might be that there's even higher chance that we'll get a rate cut. So let's see what happened out here in March. Yeah, so it just, yeah, people keep thinking that we're going to get a rate cut in March for whatever reason. The percentages just keep going up. So that would probably explain that movement that we saw, that upward movement, and then right after that report. So rationality still hasn't hit the bond market. That means, and that's probably why we have this gap up right here in the TLT. So we'll see what happens when we hit that MA 150. Maybe rationality starts to kick back in, but given what we've seen so far and the behavior off of this report, I would say it's a little bit more likely that we start going up parabolically towards the MA 200. We'll see how everything develops though. So that's it for this morning. Have a wonderful day, a profitable day trading if you are going to trade, and I will see you in the aftermarket. All right, see you guys.